We bring you the news from NHK World Radio Japan at 8 p.m. Japan time on Sunday, May 21st. I'm Hirokazu Sakamaki.
And I'm Yuka Matsumoto.
In our top stories, trade ministers of the 11 countries in the Trans-Pacific Partnership issued a statement after meeting in Hanoi, Vietnam on Sunday on the sidelines of the APEC talks.
The South Korean military says North Korea launched a ballistic missile from the western province of South Pyongyang on Sunday afternoon.
And 82 Nigerian girls released from captivity by Boko Haram militants several weeks ago have been reunited with their families. Now the news in detail. Trade ministers of the 11 countries in the Trans-Pacific Partnership issued a statement after meeting in Hanoi, Vietnam on Sunday on the sidelines of APEC talks. The statement says the ministers reaffirmed the balanced outcome and the strategic and economic significance of the TPP. It says they agreed to launch a process to assess options to bring the comprehensive high-quality agreement into force expeditiously, including how to facilitate membership for the original signatories. According to the statement, the ministers had instructed their senior trade officials to complete their work before an APEC summit also in Vietnam in November. The United States pulled out of the pact in January, as President Donald Trump promised during his election campaign.
After the meeting, Japan's Economic Revitalization Minister Nobuteru Ishihara said the 11 remaining countries had adopted a statement that reflected their unity. New Zealand's Trade Minister Todd McLeod said he was pleased that the 11 countries could show unity. He said he thought it was not necessary to change the existing agreement that much. During Sunday's meeting, Ishihara is believed to have explained Tokyo's intention to bring the TPP into force with the remaining countries. He is also thought to have said he will take the initiative in getting the U.S. to rejoin. Australia and New Zealand have been positive about implementing the pact without the U.S., while Malaysia, Vietnam, and Canada have been cautious.
U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer said at a news conference that the United States has withdrawn from the Trans-Pacific Partnership Free Trade Agreement and that it remains committed to the decision. At a news conference held in Hanoi, Lighthizer said the TPP did not serve the national interest of the United States, dismissing hopes that the nation might return to the deal. He reiterated that the United States would work on achieving bilateral trade agreements, as U.S. President Donald Trump had said. Lighthizer added that the 11 remaining members of the TPP could each make a decision about joining the multilateral trade agreement, indicating that the United States would not impede the discussion. Lighthizer was in the Vietnamese capital to attend a gathering of APEC trade ministers.
The South Korean military says North Korea launched a ballistic missile from the western province of South Pyongyang on Sunday afternoon. The military officials say the missile flew eastward about 500 kilometers and fell into the Sea of Japan. South Korean media reports quote military officials as saying it was not an intercontinental ballistic missile. Just 1 week ago, the North fired an intermediate-range ballistic missile from the northwestern province of Pyeongbuk-do. It flew around 800 kilometers and fell into the Sea of Japan about 30 minutes later. On Saturday, Rodon Sinmun, the newspaper of the North's ruling Workers' Party, said in a commentary that the deployment of 2 U.S. aircraft carriers in the Sea of Japan near the Korean peninsula will further intensify tensions in the region.
Prime Minister Shinzo Abe on Sunday condemned North Korea's missile launch, saying it was unacceptable. He told reporters that he would launch a strong protest, noting that Pyongyang had launched a ballistic missile, its second in 1 week, despite strong warning from the international community. He said he hoped to discuss the issue as one of the key agendas at the Group of 7 Nations meeting scheduled to be held this week. Abe said he hoped to discuss a clear message. He hopes to issue a clear message.
North Korean media have criticized Japan and the United States for their recent moves to keep Pyongyang in check. The state-run Korean Central News Agency carried a commentary on Saturday. It referred to a meeting between Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and the commander of the U.S. Pacific Command, Admiral Harry Harris, in Tokyo on Tuesday. Abe told Harris that he wants to increase pressure on North Korea in cooperation with the U.S. The news agency claims Tokyo's move to impose sanctions had led Pyongyang to put Japan within its strike range. It adds that all of Pyongyang's attack methods, including nuclear weapons, are aimed at the U.S. mainland and U.S. bases in Japan. Rodon Shimbun, the newspaper of the ruling Workers' Party, ran a commentary in its Saturday issue. It protests the move to deploy the aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan to waters near the Korean peninsula. The story argues the deployment will further intensify tension on the peninsula.
You are listening to NHK World Radio Japan from Tokyo. U.S. President Donald Trump wrapped up the first day of his visit to Saudi Arabia by touting huge investment deals. He said the projects involved would lead to tens of thousands of new jobs in both countries. Trump received a royal welcome on Saturday as he arrived in Riyadh on the first leg of his first foreign tour since taking office. Government officials of both countries say Saudi and U.S. company representatives held talks on business projects worth at least $200 billion. Saudi Arabia's state-run oil firm Saudi Aramco signed $50 billion worth of agreements with 11 American firms, including General Electric. U.S. private equity firm Blackstone said Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund will provide $20 billion for a new fund for infrastructure projects in the United States.
82 Nigerian girls released from captivity by Boko Haram militants several weeks ago have been reunited with their families. The reunions took place on Saturday in the capital Abuja. The young women embraced their family members amid tears and laughter. The militants sparked international outrage in April 2014 by kidnapping more than 200 girls from a school in the country's northeast. They threatened to sell them as slaves. More than 100 of the girls are still missing. The militants have continued to abduct other people, including women and children, and have even been using some of them as suicide bombers. Members of an international human rights group say the schoolgirls have gotten the most attention, but the Nigerian government needs to negotiate the release of all the abductees. And that was the news from NHK World Radio Japan in Tokyo. I'm Yuka Matsumoto.
And I'm Hirokazu Sakamaki.
Please stay tuned.